let's just get into the news of the day, which is this morning. Julio Jones. There was some information put out by Diana Rossini that
Mm.
a bunch of different teams have inquired about Julio Jones, and one team even offered a first-round pick for him. And I think she followed up her tweet by saying that the Titans were one of the teams interested, but that they won't likely trade for him, and that she expects Julio to be traded sometime early next week.
Mm.
Even that could happen because June 1st, I believe, is Tuesday or Monday next week. So before I get into the full breakdown, what are your thoughts on that report this morning?
Well, she's legit. I mean, she's up there with Adam Schefter and the best of them. So if she says that Atlanta can get a first round pick for Julio Jones, I gotta believe her, although I'm skeptical. But I gotta believe her. And if that's the case, then it sounds like Tennessee's out of it. And then let's come to the Niners. I mean, they could trade the 2024 first round pick for Julio Jones. They could, but think about it logistically. That he would be how old in 2024? 35? 36. So essentially, your first round pick in 2024 would be on a 36-year-old. That's not what you want. You'd rather trade next year's first than that, I think, on a guy that old. So I think it's starting to be. I don't know which team is going to be giving up this first round pick. Is it going to be like the Raiders or I don't know, maybe the Raiders? But I can't. Yeah, it's starting to look bleak for the Niners.
Well, and there's a lot of AFC teams interested too. I think that's the big thing people have to watch
Yeah.
out for is even if the Niners, because we'll get into why they should want him in a second, but even if they do end up trading for Julio or trying to trade for Julio
Mm-hmm.
Jones, they're going to be competing with the Patriots, the Chargers, the Titans potentially, even though, like Diana said, they might be out. But there's so many AFC teams interested in him.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could be really tough. And I do want to get into this first with Julio. The thing about him is that in the first year of the deal you're trading for Julio Jones, you're getting about a $15 million year deal. That's going to be really tough for the Niners to work out right now because their current salary cap stands at about $17-18 million, and they have yet to still sign rookies like Trey Lance, Trey Sermon, and just a few others. So they're going to need to pay guys eventually, and there's the Fred Warner extension that hasn't happened yet. So I think just financially, when I started looking at it that way, it just seems really tough for the 49ers to execute. I'm not saying it's impossible for them to do, but I would think it unlikely because I think they would have to do some maneuvering around their cap to even make it work.
Yeah. It does look like it would cost him 15 million this year, 11 million next year, and 11 million the year after that. So his most expensive year for the Niners would be 2021. Yeah, it's tough. They'd have to probably. It seems to me that if they go get Julio Jones, then they gotta get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo the same day. I think, and they would have to see enough from Trey Lance in the next 4 or 5 days to feel comfortable with that. And honestly, what I saw from Trey Lance at OTAs wouldn't make me feel comfortable trading Jimmy Garoppolo just yet. That being said, if you give Trey Lance Julio Jones, maybe he'd be a lot better. Tough one.
And let's be real. Like getting Julio Jones, I don't even want to say he's underrated right now because that's not the right way to say it. But people are a little down on Julio because he was hurt last season, right? But if you look at just before that, the 6 seasons going up to that, he'd only missed 4 games total. And there's all these crazy stats that I was looking up the other night, how Julio is the career leader in yards per game behind, and for second place, the difference is about 10 yards. So between first and second, it's not even close. And then if you keep looking, he's like number 20 in all-time receiving yards. And he has, this was pretty crazy. I read this on Jack Hammer's article that he put out for All 49ers SI. In the last 2 seasons, Julio Jones has more catches and yards than the entire wide receivers room that the 49ers have right now. So you're saying, Julio Jones would be excellent. And quite frankly, he would be the perfect X receiver for this offense. I mean, you could see him in that role. You could see Debo moving down to the slot, putting Ayuk on the same side as Kittle. So football wise, I'm not against it. Like you're saying, you want to give Trey Lance as much help as possible early on in his rookie career. I think that would be really important. But at the same time, like I just mentioned earlier, I think logistically it's just going to be too tough for the Niners to pull off. And like you said, why would they give up a first round pick when they just gave up two, well, some people say three, but let's say even if you're being optimistic, 2 first-round picks just to move up for Trey Lance. It's a lot of draft capital you spent this offseason. So they need to they're going to have to, if they're going to trade for Julio Jones, it's going to be something like a second and a 4th-round pick. I think that's what you threw out the other day. I saw an ESPN reporter wrote an article suggesting that as well. So, I mean, if we're trading for him for that value, I don't think it would be crazy. But like you were just saying, if the Falcons get an offer for a 1st-round pick, they'd be kind of crazy not to take it.
Hey, I just don't know which team would offer that, but I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.